Super spreaders, what's up? I couldn't do bed even after that long day without popping in saying hi, kind of giving a recap of the day. My iPhone won't connect to my Mac here, which is kind of surprising. Connects all the time, connects when I don't want it to often, but now that I need it to, it won't give me that option. So it's good old faceless Jay tonight. Just double checking. No, it won't show up. All right. So, I mean, what a day. This was almost a 12-hour day. I'm 45 minutes short of 12 hours. And what a day it was. It was great to see everybody. Most of the same crew back, including the audiovisual crew, is one family from Alberta, I think. And yeah, the show went smoothly. We had, was it 9 witnesses? So the day started off with a very interesting person. It became way more interesting after. Started off with Lee Dundas, who specializes in child trafficking and advocating for victims and prevention, runs courses for police and tries to influence police to stop arresting the girls and start arresting the Johns. And she talked about horrible stuff going on over there in Thailand. And then on to like what happens in Canada and America. Let's see if I've got a good spot queued up here. Let me know if audio is weird. I'll probably be a bit slow to respond on Rumble because I don't have my usual setup. I won't get notified of the chats unless I'm looking at it. I'll try to get that set up now. Anyway, she goes on to identify that the most common that happens over here is what did she call it? Romeo pimps. So they've got guys, either the pimp themselves, or I guess eventually someone that they hire, looks young enough that they enroll themselves in school and then regular date girls that they identify as targets. And then it all comes crashing to an end when they, they'll tell the girls some story about how they owe some guy some money and he's in big trouble and, he'll let it go if he can sleep with you. but then he films that and then uses that to trap her. So there's totally like middle class girls, like total suburban girls and stuff. So very different over here. And then CO pimping, which is similar, but that goes through a front organization, like a talent model. I'll go to the tweets, like a talent or modeling agency. And she referred to Rachel Thomas, who I was unfamiliar with. And this happened to her when she was really young. She got picked up by a quote unquote modeling agency, and it turned out to be sex trafficking. So really wild there. So it was really weird. So put all this up. Let's see where the replies are. Is it just my replies? Let's see where to go. I started getting bombed with replies from people that she's, some kind of spy. She's a Scientologist, a Sea Org in Scientology, I'm told. I don't know. This is all hitting me like sitting there and watching The Next Witness, and all this stuff is coming in like, whoa, careful, she's crazy, and all this stuff supposedly appeared at January 6th and had something to say. I don't know. So we'll see what comes of that. Either way, I mean, she wasn't, oh yeah, this is the clip that put her viral. If you haven't seen this, let me share this. So this is what kind of put her on the map. Okay, so we got her shared again. One sec. There we go. Do it like that. There we go.
Of a U.S. felony, and the buying of sex, the equivalent of a U.S. felony. So you got kilos of coke, buy a girl for sex, buy.
Don't you talked about how in someplace in Florida they started taking Johns that were arrested for picking up prostitutes and then like putting them on billboards or calling their wives. All of a sudden resulted in instant 25% reduction in prostitution in the area.
I'm trying to figure out what my first video clip was, but
well, we can run one and then you can comment on it.
Yeah, why don't we run one and then it'll refresh my recollection. Let's do that.
Okay, so we'll cue that up and run it.
Lee Dundas, human rights attorney. Late last week, I am informed a meeting occurred between Orange County Health Officer Dr. Clayton Chow and Orange County Board of Education Superintendent Al Maharas, during which time they apparently tried to find a way to, quote, sidestep and entirely remove informed parental consent for the COVID vaccine and also turn Orange County school campuses into vaccination centers. The COVID-19 vaccine is an experimental medical protocol authorized under the Emergency Use Authorization Act, and as such, you cannot mandate it for anyone, nor can you sidestep informed consent. There is a reason that kids cannot smoke, drive, drink, have sex, vote, or die for this country.
Crazy,
and it is because the law says they lack the capacity to understand those decisions, and that applies here more than ever. Hear me loud and hear me well. We will not be morphing our school campuses into COVID vaccine centers for delivery of an experimental medical protocol that killed every ferret in the last animal study they did until such time they had to abandon that study, and then they didn't even do the study this time around because we are the study. The last time humans launched a plan like this to conduct experimental medical protocols on vulnerable populations was in Joseph Mengele's direction. He was an MD known as the Angel of Death. Okay, and he was part of the SS, and in 1943 he was assigned to Auschwitz, where he saw an opportunity to conduct gene research, quote, focused primarily on children with no regard for the health or safety of the victims. This is off the internet, you can Google it. You know what else is gene research? Experimental COVID vaccines with the trans gene inside of it. If you don't believe me, go pull the EUA application for the J&J shot. I come from a long line of Eastern Europeans.
Yeah, so she screams at them. She claims she got the that was the education board, and the head of that board got him fired. She's gotten several people fired, and she calls it name and shame. And she had 3 steps to that. Did I put that in my tweety? Oh, it's a long day. So many tweets. I haven't tweeted that much since the first one. Just live stream. Man, X is so, they make it so hard to find like your own stuff. But she called it name and shame, and so you find out what the shitty policy is, then you find out exactly who proposed it, because you know in legislation and even businesses, someone's got to propose something usually, and then find out a chink in the armor. And in the case of the video clip that we were watching, she discovers they didn't follow proper parliamentary procedure, and used that to declare the whole thing illegal. They didn't follow the Emergency Act. Only was for COVID, and this they were doing something with rhinovirus or something, trying to give kids. I never even heard of this. California, they were trying to force kids to get this whole other vaccine. It's crazy. So I mean, I don't know, guys. Like a bunch of you think she's, I don't know, commie, CIA, Scientology, infiltration. I know nothing about that. I knew nothing about that. But her testimony wasn't about any of that stuff. So it seemed good on its face. And then where do we go from there? Alex Newman. Yeah, this guy was crazy. He was kind of like Baptist Matthew Ehret. Super smart guy. Let's see, we'll pull up just a little bit just to give you some flavor, some Alex Newman flavor. God. So this guy, I mean, he was nailing it. He really knows his stuff. He's really researched deep. He got into he was able to, like, from memory or while being questioned by the commissioners, go get up and go get, you know, a certain book and flip right to the page to show examples of what he was talking about. Like, this is obviously a very learned fellow. I don't know much about him, but I'm going to. Yeah, so these are like books for kids, and it's like crazy satanic imagery. Yes, Julie Poness. So she was interesting. She's a, you know, philosophy or ethics PhD, and she did a really good, really totally worth watching run through of you know, kind of a lot of the standard talking points. A really good presentation. And then when the commissioners got in, it got really deep. It got really philosophical. So that's Miriam Bohemier, one of the new commissioners. And she was in Ottawa when I was as well. I realized that looking back at the footage. And they got into, when Ken was asking, it became kind of a topic, and it stayed with the inquiry after that. Child sacrifice, which she did cover. You guys got to watch this. It's 11 and a half hours stream. Probably about 2 hours of that is filler stuff while they're waiting to stream or during breaks. But you really got to watch it. It'll get cut up into chunks as quickly as the volunteers can slice it up and put it into individuals. But Ponesse is her name, Ponesse, and you can look at my threads to find her ex and information about her. It seemed like it was kind of yet another litany of everything wrong with the education system in modern society. Oh shit, I didn't have the wrong tab shared. Damn. Hey David, what's up? Good to see you, man. It's highly likely that I'll miss messages for a while. I don't have my usual chat application here in Vancouver. It notifies me of chats from all sources and plays sounds and stuff like that, so I don't miss chats. So forgive me if I miss stuff. I had the wrong screen shared, so let's listen to Julie Ponesse.
Miriam's question and your response brought me to wanting to ask you, because you just said people want to be something we are not. Do you think the removal of something higher than ourselves from our society and our institutions, whatever that higher thing might be, a god or your community, do you think that's contributed, or perhaps is that at the root of this we wanting to be God, or we wanting to be something we could never be because we aspire to it, but we no longer have something else to look up to as such?
Mm-hmm. Yes, one of the worst consequences of removing something greater outside of yourself is that something needs to fill that void. There's a vacuum. And if there's nothing else to step in, then it's going to have to be the result of self-elevation. You have to see yourself as a god. Now, why human beings are spiritual in that way, if you want to put it that way, I think is a further question for anthropologists and theologians, but nevertheless, almost every culture in history has had some theology that involves either a god or some set of gods. It's whether we believe in gods because we are tracking truth about the world, which is my personal view, or there's some psychological phenomenon that makes us want to invent them. Either way, this is something we do and we cycle through over and over and over again. To answer your question more directly, I think it would be fair to say that the situation we find ourselves in now is due directly. So the proximate cause is a loss of meaning and purpose in life, and that is directly related to a loss of the presence of God and Christianity, excuse me, in our schools, even in our churches, in our House of Commons, and in culture more generally. And even if you don't want to say that God exists, or that God's existence is an important element of our democracy, it certainly seems to be the case that some element of spirituality is, because it gives structure to our lives. It gives us a feeling that there's something bigger than ourselves. How often do people say they love to go to the mountains or to the ocean because they like to feel small? Right? Humans, we like to feel small.
Anyway, yeah, so like the whole end of it was like that. She finished off her slides with proof that all large-scale successful societies start sacrificing their young, and this turned into a theme that kind of recurred throughout the day. I think it really resonated and made me appreciate having a philosopher on. It was kind of an unexpected turn. So I guess we're in lunch break. Byron Bridle. I have to make a movie about this guy. I think most of you will know Byron Bridle from around the way, whether it's previous NCIs or just he was very high profile at COVID. Assistant professor at Guelph University, extremely accomplished viral immunologist, published, teaching the whole 9 yards. Said he had some doubts about mRNA's ability to work as a vaccine on a radio show, and then basically woke up almost the next day and his colleagues at work had made fake websites and fake social media accounts and started posting under his name all this like racist and far right stuff. I'm still wondering what the hell, where that came from. It's like, you know, CIA ops. And he goes through a whole demonstration that's just withering. See if I can find the moment, because it came out early. So he shows, can you still believe that the one of the elements in this is called luciferase? I mean, it's like they're trying to be as creepy as possible. And those gray boxes are where they redacted the data that they tried to hide for 75 years. And he ran us through exactly how they were faking and hiding the fact that mRNA was moving around the body. This was, and I don't want to say he was yelling at us, but I mean, you know, he's worked up, and this was just a force of nature presentation. I really haven't seen much anything like it. And all these charts and stuff, he made it all made sense. He knows how to explain this stuff and have it make sense. I'm just trying to see where he delivered.
It can potentially be taught.
The coup de grace, the major shocker for us. And he had his own attorney there, which is cool. He proves how they lied and then how they covered their ass. And the most insane part was that late last year, a parliamentarian, maybe it was later, a parliamentarian used a rule of parliament to force Health Canada to reply and ask them for a list of the scientific evidence that they used to approve mod RNA for pregnant and lactating women. And the official reply from Health Canada, December 2023, was, we did not approve it for lactating women. But 2 years before that, in the middle of the crisis, the Minister of Health came out and said, it's been tested, it's safe and effective. We recommend that pregnant and lactating women take the mod RNA. And now they're saying they never approved it. Bridle was just off the chain. I'm hoping he's there tomorrow and I can actually catch an interview. Kelly Green, he was cool. So this was parental alienation, which is, it's kind of like he's trying to give a syndrome name to clear up, I think mostly like discrimination against men in courts. Excuse me. It was quite fascinating. But definitely, you know, some interesting takes on what's happening in family courts, that kind of thing. Then we had Vincent Mercis, who was at the last one, and he was at I think this is his third time on the NCI, maybe. And he brings us up to date on that Detective Helen Grusz in Ottawa, who's being disciplined by the force for investigating a mystery string of 9 infant deaths. And they killed the investigation and suspended her and made up lies about her, like she accessed information illegally or something like this. Just absolutely brutal, going after her job for doing her job. Now what's next? There's a break. Oh, this was Pastor Paul Dirks. Very cool. So this guy, he knows more about gender theory and sexual orientation and all this stuff. And Soji, he knows more about this than most people on the left do. This was a really great presentation. Super knowledgeable. He's a Baptist pastor, so his angle is coming from the idea that socialization has created a massive spike in social contagion, he called it. So societal contagion, like everybody's just getting trans and getting gay now because it's so cool. And I think it was never said explicitly, but it's brought up, Bill C4, which makes it illegal to attempt conversion therapy, as they call it, as the left calls it. So I think he's arguing for that. This was a parent who had a terrible story about their son being excluded. Oh yeah, and this guy, I can't remember his name because it was like got right at the end, and I was interviewing somebody. Just gonna get the picture up so I can catch his name. Amrit Beering. This guy, he started a Freedom Party of British Columbia and is running 5 candidates in, I think, all in Surrey area out here where I am right now, and filed a complaint with the police about kind of gross sex books that they're putting into the libraries and stuff, and how the police did nothing and kind of covered it up. It turned out that the police agreed that it was sexually inappropriate, probably criminally sexual, to have this, to give this to, this is in elementary school libraries. But after dilly-dallying for months, told him that it was okay because they didn't actually show the books to any kids. The world we live in. So, tomorrow there's a whole new list getting up. I've got lots of, behind the scenes footage and stuff that I'll be piecing together and putting up more over the coming days, because I'll be here for 4 more days after the event ends. So I'll have a little bit of time to stitch some things together and send them your way. But I'll do another update tomorrow, and I'll be tweeting like a madman and filming interviews whenever I can tomorrow again, starting 8:45 Pacific. So that's all I got.